Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. Well, it, okay. Well, just just hold it right there. Just hold it right there, Joe. What I'm saying is, you want to be president, and in order for oh, wait, I'll have to call you back. All right, Mr. Former Vice President. Thank you. Hello. Um, that was nothing. Unfortunately, I don't have uh, the capacity or, or the technology or whatever it is to do one of my quintessential and signature musical openings right now. I mean, I've changed my whole system, all the electronics. It's all new and it's exciting. And I don't know how to operate any of it. So, in due time, I hope to return because I know this may sound crazy to some of you. I enjoy doing it. And there were some of you who seem to enjoy my doing it. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, anyways, we have a lot of new members here. So whether you're listening here live now or you're looking at the reruns that come out after the live stream, I'm Ed McKinley. I'm just a guy from Massachusetts who got completely fucked by the federal government and the higher education system with predatory and corrupt student loans. This is studentloanjustice.org. And as we all sit here today, at least to the best of my knowledge, are the foremost primary solution, in my opinion, to that problem. I'm not aware of any other cohesive, organized, or group of any sort. To be honest with you, out there working today, full throatedly and with full integrity, meaning without any strings attached, for currently cancellation of all federally backed student debts. If you knew and you were familiar with our group, you know that our primary mission for many years has focused on the protections that are afforded to virtually all consumer debt in this country, excluding student loans. And I'm not going to get into all the details tonight because I'm trying to learn how to be a little more brief. But once I get going, just stuff just goes. So we are at this time taking a very significant pivot and a much stronger stand on something that has not been our primary position in the past. We are calling for, let's face it, basically, as Alan would say, this lending system is burnt, it's toast, it's a dead roadkill, and somebody needs to put it out of its misery because, quite frankly, a lot of people are suffering unnecessarily as a result of it. And the only positive I can possibly think of is for an extraordinarily small number of people who are still figuring out how to milk more gold out of it. Folks, this is going to be a, to use that analogy, this is going to be a goose that laid the golden egg. And we're getting near that point where, the exploitation of this system by the money changers, banksters, whatever, with this, there's enough blame to go around for every position and for every system involved in this deal. This is not something that was perpetrated by one single entity. Things this big need to generally be coordinated on a much larger scale, and it has been. In fact, this is coordinated so well and so thoroughly and so deviously that it's still hard to tell this story to even the skeptics out there, even the cynics, and I mean cynics, people who are cynical about government, people who are cynical about the finance system, still to this day have a hard time when I simply inform them of the facts, the basic, hard, cold facts. And that's just, it's too big to wrap your mind around. And you know what? So it's kind of like stealing in plain sight, because if people don't think it can happen, then they don't see it. However, we unfortunately have 40, maybe 50 million people out there whose names were put on the dotted line, and far too many who, while they have more than likely come to the conclusion that something is really screwed up about their loans, they are too uncomfortable or filled with unwarranted and unnecessary shame to talk about it to anybody, even other people they know in student loan debt, family. Yeah, like they feel like they want to walk into their employer's office and say, I am way, way behind on my student loan debt. While you would be astonished how many times you may do that and find out that that supervisor you're going to is just as bad a situation as you are. You don't know that because you don't talk to each other about it. It's too uncomfortable. Uh, there's too much fear of being judged. There's too much fear of, you know, of being compromised in some way. Not all the fear is unwarranted, folks. I'm not, and I hope no one thinks I would even suggest that. I think there have been a couple of possible examples in my own career that may have been somewhat compromised. When that letter came into Human Services saying that they were intending to garnish my wages, whilst I would have supervisors who, when I discussed the topic with them, appeared to be understanding. I'm not entirely sure that they really were. Be that as it may, that's not going to stop me. It didn't stop me then. It won't stop me now. Don't get me wrong. I don't walk around, with a tattoo on my forehead and a sticker on my shirt saying, "Hey, I'm Ed, and I have been absolutely blown up financially by the Department of Education and the higher education system. Can we talk?" But if I were to do that, statistically speaking, roughly 1 out of 6 or 7 times that I did it, the person I'm talking to would know exactly what I was talking about, because there's a really high chance that it's happening to them. I bring this message to the live streams quite often to continue to encourage those who are, active members of our group, people who, watch these live streams and follow to the best of their ability what's going on, what we're trying to do, what we can work on. Um, we've got to break the cone of silence. A little bit of news today. I know it sounds like I'm shifting gears, but I'm trying to create a segue. Uh, Not the thing you ride around on. Because I think a segue is uh, sort of just melding two different but related subjects together. See, I did go to college, even though that's probably something I should have known in seventh grade. So, what was I talking about? Yes, student loans. News today, a new player who has shifted their standings in the presidential and vice presidential sweepstakes. Uh, some of you may be pleased, some of you may be indifferent, some of you may be angry, whatever. It's really not my business or my concern, but Senator Kamala Harris has apparently emerged as the choice of the presumed Democratic nominee, former Vice President Joe Biden. I don't have any uh, strong feelings about this one way or the other, but I will point out a couple of thoughts. And although there are probably many other factors that you may think about or consider, some of the basic question boils down to Kamala Harris, friend or foe? Is she somebody who is proven to lean towards our corner? Is she someone that we have any reason to believe or any evidence to prove or suggest that we can count on her when we get the fight into the trenches? Well, let's think. There is one positive that I can pull out of the top of my head, and that is that while she was a candidate for the presidency, Kamala Harris did co-sponsor our Senate loan S1414, which would in fact restore bankruptcy protections to student loans. So, yeah, uh, that's a positive thing. I mean, as time moves forward, the more weight of the names that are on that bill, the more leverage we have to try and advance it. So, I'm going to have to say, well, that is better than nothing. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be better than nothing because I can't come up with anything else that she's said or done or is suggested or insinuated that I could take seriously that she is somebody who recognizes the enormity and the relevance of this issue and has any intention of paying any serious attention to this problem. Now, look, folks, uh, things can and do change. You know, even in politics and even in the Congress, winds do shift direction, but they generally don't do it just spontaneously. There needs to be some sort of catalyst. I'm really, really reaching for the big because I haven't slept, by the way. I think I haven't slept in 36 hours or something. I don't know. I know that's not like a world record or anything, but the less I sleep, the more, loose I get. So hopefully I can keep somewhere near the rails. And I can see that that clock is running. So I just wanted to make that point. This is a new bit of news. It is a bit of news that will probably dominate the next 24-hour news cycle, unless, of course, President Trump decides to pass a bologna sandwich through his nose on live TV, which is entirely possible. Uh, anything from any candidate at this point in time often seems to have a lot more to do with just simply trying to control the narrative. And, whether that be Trump, Biden, or anybody else, real substantive stuff just doesn't seem to be, certainly where we're concerned. Let me back it up to that because it's important. I like to stay, you know, relatively close to what we're doing. We are losing, in my opinion, we're losing a little bit of momentum in terms of our voice being reflected more on the national presidential stage. We had a great deal more during the course of the presidential primary. Of course, we had some more progressive candidates like Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, who were outrightly calling for cancellation of debts, different plans, but nonetheless, people don't know that. They don't know what we know. A lot of people, unless you're in this on this sinking ship, you're likely not to really understand the difference. So that's just rhetoric and language at that point. It hasn't actually happened. So but I am a little concerned and a little disappointed that we have. I kind of held out, and I know that there was a lot of pressure on Biden to choose an African American woman, which I have no issues whatsoever with. Uh, I guess in a way, I was kind of hoping he might break and go with Liz Warren because it's not about whether I like Liz Warren, don't like Liz Warren, trust Liz Warren, don't trust Liz Warren. Liz Warren has given us more voice and more play than other candidates have, and that's really what it comes down to: is leveraging their resources in our favor. Because I don't know whether or not we could trust Liz Warren to do what we would like her to do, as an example, but it is still of huge value for her to be publicly stating that she believes in restoring bankruptcy protections, that she believes in a significant loan cancellation program. We don't love it, but it still sounds right. Should have been a better choice for us starting out. So we could sit around and cry and whine and quit and give up and just start having all of our incomes just automatically uh, direct deposited into the account at the Department of Education. We could do that. I'm not going to. That's my decision. Let me think. What am I going to? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue doing this. And so, what is it that we have that they need that gives us leverage? And that basically lays in one hard, cold reality. And it's very unfortunate, but it's the truth. We have millions and millions of Americans who have also, and I'm going to qualify with a pardon my French in case you don't want to hear this, been fucked on their federal and private student loans. So we need to, our biggest and most important task at this point is, if we're not relevant enough with today's current set of presidential, vice presidential candidates, then I'm going to go, hey, that's bad on us. Because that's our responsibility now, is to make the necessary adjustments to raise the volume of our own voices. Because the fact of the matter is that when we get loud enough, we become a threat. We will require some grease. And there's really only very few things that we would accept as grease in this case. There are enough people who are underwater in student loan debt to impact and likely have a deciding factor in who the next president of the United States will be. And we've only tapped into, maybe 15 or 16,000 we have here now in the Facebook group. We need to do better. If everyone here, as I've often said, went out and recruited one member a week, in several weeks would be in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. When becomes clear to the powers that be that we have become a serious enough threat to organize a cohesive group of 1 million plus, we will have joined the ranks of the heavyweight, uh, you know, groups. And I'm talking about, maybe not quite into NRA status at their highest peak. I don't know if they're falling now or not. I hear different things. But once we get the momentum to grow the group to that point, we become a heavyweight. We become a voice. We become somebody who has leverage and clout, even at the national presidential level. Fact, not fiction. Even with the numbers that we have now, I know because I have reached out and kicked open doors in Senate and congressional offices, that the name student loan justice, as it currently sits, carries some weight in Washington. You need to know that. You need to know that this is not, and it probably was initially seen as some sort of fringe organization by some kooky guy from Seattle, Washington, who, as one of our more extreme opponents used to say, is just a guy who doesn't want to pay his student loans. So, we've grown a lot since then. And if you're new and you're not sure what the strength of this group is, go to Google and Google student loan justice, Google Allen College. I think that the search results alone will speak for themselves. We have, as everyone out here should know by now, and if you don't, then now you will, a petition we've been pushing the devil out of, that is calling hard upon President Donald Trump and or whoever the next president will be, to put the stupid loan lending system that is hemorrhaging and stifling people's lives out of its misery. It's the quickest possible route that I'm aware of, in the sense that, to the best of our ability to research this question, yes, a president can, and in fact has recently, as many of you are probably aware, President Trump, by executive order, extended a moratorium, so to speak, on student loan payments, collections, and interest. Now, that doesn't solve our problem. That's just buys a little time that I hope gives enough people time to take pause and say, you know what? Although I do realize that there may be many of you with this pandemic who are in tough financial straits with or without your student loans, and most were anyways. But it doesn't suck to not be having to send that check every month. But that's going to come back. It's going to come back, and it's going to come back at a bad time. In my opinion, and I've heard Alan say this, for President Trump to thumb his nose at our petition when we've hit over 1/2 of 1 million signatures and intend to at least double that in the next month or less, he would have to be completely insane not to take it seriously. Now, maybe some people think he already is. I don't know. I know this. I know that things like this can seem a million miles away until suddenly they're not. Because this is the only thing that I know of that one person could conceivably wake up one morning and have the motivation to make a decision to put their name on an executive order that makes all of your student loan debt go away, and to do it in such a way as to benefit the economy and the well-being of millions of Americans just before an election. So that's the big thing tonight is you got to talk to other people. You need to bring people to this group. We need to be able to show the numbers. We need people who have been sharing the petition, and some of you have been unbelievably relentless with good results. Way over 500,000 signatures on that thing right now, and we are doubling down or tripling down. Please, if you've been doing it, you've been doing something right. Continue to share this the link to our petition, and go back and share it in some of the same places you've been putting it. Because I know there was one point a couple of weeks ago where in just a 2 or 3 day period, we had like 250,000 new signatures. I don't know exactly what the sources were that provoked that big of a surge, but all of you out there who are, have been working at this, just do what you've been doing and do it again, because it's working. Those of you sitting on the fence, however, those of you who have said, "Oh, well, I'm going to watch what's going on over here," this is not a spectator sport. This is something. This is a game that everybody gets to play. It's like Little League. Nobody sits on the bench. Everyone gets to play. Everyone gets to have a turn at bat, and we need everybody in order to reach our objective, and we've never been closer. So, folks, so I can get out of here only 4 minutes over the time I had set out to do, please do something every day. Sharing the link in 10 different places in social media, talking to a friend, getting them to come join our group. Right now, that's where we're at. We have to build our power, and this is how we do it. We need to be able to show large numbers of support for our group and for our mission. That's how we get the leverage, and that's how some things do suddenly change in the political biosphere. So I'm Ed McKinley from Massachusetts, and pleasure being here with you all tonight. I'm here just filling in for Alan Collins while he's in assignment in Beirut, and shall be expected to return tomorrow evening with his own brand of student loan justice. Good night.